How to shift naturally into a new reality. Hey guys, I am of course your host, Sky Cheyenne, and welcome back once again to Rebuild Reality, where as always we talk about who we really are, why we're here, and how all of this stuff works. So today we're going to clear up some things that get in the way of our manifestations. And probably the biggest block when it comes to manifesting is, of course, trying to believe that manifesting is real to begin with and believing that it's actually true. And that, yes, we really do have the power to control and change our experience of reality. And that not only can we have exactly what we want, we can have the life of our wildest dreams as well. Yet, of course, we struggle to convince ourselves to believe that we can do it, that it's actually a real thing. Because in the back of our mind, there's that voice that keeps saying, you're just making all this up, that all of these people who believe this stuff are delusional, that you're going to hurt yourself again by believing in fairy tales, and that you're an idiot for believing in things that aren't real, right? Things that aren't based on the one and only true reality, of course, which is the reality our 3D mind perceives. Yep. That's what the voice in our head says, yet at the same time, it's a voice that knows nothing of the truth of reality or how life even works to begin with. Let's face it, if it did, it wouldn't keep running us and our life into brick walls all the time. But our heart says that this manifestation stuff is real, and that a life of magic and miracles is the life we were always meant to live. And that's why movies about superheroes and otherworldly occurrences, superpowers and magic are so tremendously popular, because there's a part of us inside that recognizes these abilities, that remembers them, but it doesn't know how, it doesn't know why it remembers them, but it's right. You were meant to expand and know yourself as a source of all that is, to finally get it that you are the creator of your life experience, that you are here to wake up to that. So that voice within you that believes in magic and miracles is actually the right one. Yet that other voice within us, the one in our heads that tells us that we're being delusional, but, what's interesting, because it's saying you're being delusional about all of this. But of course, what's really delusional is believing that 3D reality, this experience, is solid and real. Of course, it's a real experience of ourselves from an extremely limited perspective, but real in the truest sense, not at all. And it's most certainly not solid. And of course, quantum physics and science has proved this for, over 100 years now, that it's not, what it seems to appear. This world is not what it seems to be. Not even one little bit. Because when we pull up the carpet, of course, to see what actually makes up this 3D reality, we find that there's nothing solid there at all. That there's only a sea of patterns and waves and movements of energy that continually pop in and out of existence, evaporating into nothing. But our 3D mind still insists that life works a certain way, despite all evidence to the contrary. And even though its advice rarely results in a happy, fulfilling life, still we keep listening to it, don't we? So we have to remind ourselves that it doesn't see reality as it truly is, that the limitations of our 3D mind assumes exists all these limitations, that we can do this and we can't do that and blah, 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 But of course, there are no limitations, How can there be limitations in infinity and all that is? And we need to understand that our minds, the advice that they're giving us, the instructions that it's giving us, is based on our 3D senses, which, of course, have already been proven to be extremely faulty and massively limited. Like I mentioned all the time, even our eyes, that they see 0.0035% of reality, not even close to 1%. And our hearing, our hearing range for the human being is within a frequency range of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which may seem like a lot, but when you compare it to a dolphin who can hear up to 150,000 hertz compared to our measly 20,000 hertz, well, that's, there's like no comparison, is there? And that's just the frequency range of hertz. Above that is a whole range of megahertz and gigahertz and all of that. So what we hear versus what's really happening, yeah, that's extremely limited. But yet our mind still bases pretty much all of its decisions on what our 3D senses tell it. Okay. So even though quantum physics and the most brilliant minds in history have clearly shown that this world is not what it seems to be, and that it doesn't work according to the way we think it does. But nonetheless, we still go about our lives believing in our senses, which pick up basically nothing. So I actually, find it pretty funny when a lot of people say that they don't believe in the hippy-dippy, mumbo-jumbo, tree-hugging spiritual stuff, that they only believe in what their senses tell them is real, because to them, they don't know about the truth of reality, and 3D seems to be the one and only real reality that exists, so they want to be in reality. It's like, okay, yes, you do that. So our 3D mind, which uses its 3D senses, doesn't see the true cause behind this reality. And because it doesn't, well, that's why we keep crashing and burning all the time, because we keep believing everything it tells us. We don't challenge it. We don't, be like, is that true? Or do I have to believe that? Or do I want to believe that? But, so it's basically blind to the true workings of the 3D experience, which, of course, is why our mind sees so many difficulties and dangers all the time in this world, because it doesn't know what the heck it's talking about, because it goes about life in a trial and error kind of way of living, but our heart, that inner knowing within us that's hooked up to the part of the unseen world, it's connected. It gets it. And I always call that direction that our mind, that our inner compass points to, the breadcrumb trail. And our inner knowing always wants to follow that unseen trail, always has this urge, that bigger knowing within it that it wants to listen to. And I think that that's always such a disappointment for people when they get into this life and in reality, and people are like, nope, that inner feeling, that inner truth within you, nope, you're wrong, don't know what you're talking about. We kind of get a bit kind of crushed by it, but then when we find out that, yeah, that heart was right all along. And there's also a remembrance that takes place, a remembrance and a connection within us that neither science or anything else in this world can ever measure or ever really see. There's that connection to who we really are, to the rest of us, that part within us that knows that what the 3D mind perceives as magic and miracles are very much real, and that we can actually be and do and have anything we want. But how can this be? Even though in our hearts we have that inner knowing that says that we should be able to do anything that we want, that magic is supposed to be real, but how does that actually translate here in 3D? Well, how can we, transform our current life into the life we want? Well, we can't. Because this life story is this life story. And in a universe of infinite possibilities, this story is allowed to exist because all possibilities exist, right? Which means that all the other current, better versions of your life, also exist right now as well, because they have to. So we don't actually change and transform this current unsatisfactory life story. We change to a new story where our life turns out the way we want it. And right now, that preferable life story of yours already exists. It exists because there are infinite versions of you that exist. And all those versions are experiencing every possible outcome of the life you have right now. And not only are there infinite versions of you living out all possibilities, all outcomes, all possible versions of your life, but there are also infinite versions of this earth with all possible outcomes as well. Think of it as a kind of film archive, which I've kind of spoken of before, where basically every version of your life and the planet Earth, the life of planet Earth, exist. And you can occupy any of them that you want to. And they're all here. They're all here. They're all accessible. And because everything is consciousness, right? You couldn't actually think of things you desire right now unless they already existed. But the thing is, you can't change the script of any one movie. But what you can do is move yourself to the version of that life already exists, the version of the life that you want, the version where, you get everything you want, with the people, the things, the conditions, and even the version of this planet that you want, because they exist right here and now. So when we're manifesting, you're not changing this story, this script. You're moving yourself to a different version of this movie that's playing in a different movie theater, and this is what's actually taking place when we shift from one story of our life to another, which is why the script, that story that you keep talking about all day long, about you keep talking about it to yourself, to everybody else, day after day, week after week, month after month, that movie of your life in your head, well, that's the story. That's the script that has to change. Otherwise, how can the movie possibly change? And you are the only one who can do that. Because you're the screenwriter. You're the director, the producer, the actor of your movie. And how can that movie change? How can that experience of your life be different if you keep reading from the old script? Of course, it doesn't work if you're reading the lines and playing the part of the same character in your life that you don't want anymore, that you've been playing all along. You have to play the new character. And just like any actor, you have to start thinking and acting from the mind of the new character you want to be. The person with all the things that you want to have. You have to be the one with the life you do want, not still the one with the life you don't want. But this is normal for us. This is natural because we're constantly changing without even knowing it, millions of times a day, all the time, going in and out of different variations, different versions of our life without even realizing that we're doing it, right? So that's how natural and normal this actually is for us. This is what we do, right? So it's not supposed to be complicated or difficult. So just become the new character in your mind and in your life as much as you possibly can. And just like any actor would when preparing for a new movie role, so what does it feel like walking in those shoes? What does it feel like wearing those clothes and behaving like that person, as much as you're able to, like the person you want to be, embodying your new character, the new version of the you that you've always wanted to be, the you that you've always dreamed of being. And this is how it works. This is how you shift. And it should feel natural, like, oh yeah, that's who I am now. That's the new me. That's who I decide to be now. And of course, you don't go back to the old character. That's done. That's over, So don't keep trying to solve and fix that character's problems. No, because you're not that character anymore. You're not that person anymore. So you don't have to fix those problems. You don't have to solve those things, because now you're taking on a new role in life. You're taking on a new identity of the person who doesn't have those issues, right? So you're shifting to a new version of yourself because you've always been doing that anyway. It's just that now you're consciously aware of it. And because you are, you can steer it in any direction that you want to go. You understand that your senses aren't telling you the truth of this reality, and you're not continuing to be limited by them, because you're like, no, I understand that they're not telling me the true reality. This is just the kind of movie experience, right? They're not telling you what's really going on because they don't know what's really going on, So you understand they're not telling you the truth of reality, let alone the truth of who you really are and what it is that you have the ability to do. Because you're always shifting naturally into new realities. No struggle, because you are a natural. It's almost as if you were born to do this. So I am your host, Sky Cheyenne, and thank you for being with me here once again on Rebuild Reality, and thank you so much, all you amazing people, for subscribing, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, and all that YouTube stuff. Because it makes this story bigger. It makes it so other people can have this information as well, so they can get on it, so they end their suffering as well. But I'm going to see you here, and I look forward to it next time on Rebuild Reality.